Hey Josh, how are you?
I'm doing great, Sayin. How are you, man?
Josh, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Josh. I live in Northern California. I am 33 years old. I have six kids, so that's kind of wild. Yeah, man, and I'm a Salesforce developer. So
Cool. You're
a little
a
bit about
Salesforce developer right now
right now.
yourself, but a couple of years ago, what were you doing?
Yeah, so yes, it's an interesting kind of story. So actually, I come from ministry. So I come from like being a pastor and working at a church, and so that's where I come from. And then yeah, and then we moved. I moved up to Northern California, and that's kind of where my Salesforce story starts. I don't know if you want me to jump into that a little bit or not, but
Yeah, I
talk a
would
little bit
love
about.
to jump into how you got into Salesforce, but you said you were from a ministry. That means you were like a religious, you were a pastor, right?
Yeah, I was a pastor at a church. Yeah, I worked with. We worked in the city a lot, helping a lot of like kids in neighborhoods. We did like we had our own. We our church rented a house in the middle of this community, and we like did homework help and all that kind of stuff. We ran church services. You know, just kind of really involved in the community. It was a really cool place to be. Really cool gig.
Cool, cool. So from this
Yeah.
like monastic lifestyle, how did you find Salesforce?
Yeah, it gets kind of wild. So my story starts off probably about 3 years ago with Salesforce, and what happened is we had moved from Southern California to Northern California. We'll talk more about that probably later, but we get up here, and so we're a family that likes to I'm very cautious as a person, and I do things a little slowly, um, and so what we did was we kind of had a perfect plan of what we were going to do when we got up here. Uh, and so we had a house in Southern California. We sold that. We were about to close escrow, and we came up here, and we came up here for a class, some schooling that we wanted to do. And as we did that, it got kind of interesting fast. So we're driving up, right? Our school starts on the following Monday. This is Saturday. We're driving up, and on the road on the phone, I get two phone calls. So remember, we're driving up here for a class, for some school for a school we want to attend. Me and my wife, and our six kids. I realize I have two missed calls. So I open up my phone, listen to the first missed call. It's actually the person that we're driving up to. We're going to rent their house. Okay. And she says, "Hey, I just want to let you know that we actually found better candidates than you and your wife. So we're going to pass. So good luck finding a house." I'm like, "What?" I'm literally driving up here. I'm literally in like a 35-foot U-Haul, right? And I'm driving up. I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Well, okay, all right. You know, we're moving to a new city. At least we're gonna have a lot of money because this house that we did was kind of a semi real estate investment too, where we lived in. It was like a flip, right? We lived in it, and we took it from terrible and we made it beautiful and we made some money off of it. I was like, well, okay, so we lost the house, and we never signed anything anyways. It was all verbal, and so then uh, phone call two was a little different. So phone call one was like, that sucks, but you know, at least we're gonna have a bunch of money and we'll be able to get a house, get into our own, you know, get some kind of rental until we get our feet settled. Phone call two was my real estate agent saying, "Hey, the buyer's lending completely fell through. You're gonna have to start the process all over again." I'm like, "What?" What what had happened was is the buyer's dad was the VP of a bank, and they had gotten through kind of by his word on through most of the process. Well, finally they got to the end of the process, and someone said no, they were not lending them money, so they had to drop out. Our escrow was supposed to close. It's Saturday. This coming Thursday was the day we were supposed to get our documents to sign, and also our check. Right? Um, we were pretty broke, man. We didn't have a ton of money there, and because we thought we were gonna live here. We had a perfect plan, and we thought we were only gonna live here for a week or so. I mean, without a job while I looked for a place to live, because we wanted to be here in time for school to start. So that kind of kicked off that story. So we let me give you the bullet points real fast, and then we'll get to the point that I think I'm interested in kind of sharing a little bit about. We jumped from hotel to Airbnb for a long time. We couldn't find a place to live, and so now I have 6 kids, and some of them were toddlers, right? Like, imagine wrangling toddlers in a hotel room, right? 2 queen beds. There's only a small TV. Like, they're jumping on everything. I'm like, shh, you're gonna get us kicked out. I'm freaking out. Oh man, it was wild. We lived that way for about maybe a month, where we went from hotel to Airbnb to Airbnb to Airbnb. Well, this racked up some debt, right? We couldn't afford to live off of it. I had a very small savings while we're waiting for my house to close. So some of the bullet points are, we actually got, this is crazy. We got adopted. A Romanian family felt bad for us, and so they let us live with them. And so they're a family of 5. They have 3 kids. We have, and then them, and they let us live with them. And it was wild, man. So they're 5 plus our 8 in a 1,100 square foot a duplex. So half of an apartment, right? Like, it's only half of one. It's a duplex. There's someone else living on the other side. And there's all of us in this house, man. It's wild. So that happens. Eventually our house sells, but because of the debt and because moving to Northern California is cost more than expect. Plus we're in school. I'm not working. I've been looking for jobs, mind you, the entire time we had moved here. When I realized that our money wasn't coming, I started putting in applications anywhere. No pride, right? Like, when you're a dad, when you're a husband, like, you got to make stuff happen. And so I was like, I don't care where I work. I'm just gonna, make it happen. So, anyways, it took us till about December till the house closed and we got our money. So from August to December is how long the process took for our house to finally close. And we were no job, and there was some crazy stories that happened there during that time too. So we went to school. Our house finally sold, paid off some debt. We had a nanny and all this stuff. And then so school ends. Now I'm starting to look for a place to work. Our house money is kind of running out. And so we're like, oh man, what are we going to do? So once again, I started applying to jobs like crazy. I'm trying to find a place to work. Well, I decide something that I've been looking at for a long time was to go to coding boot camp. And I was like, man, I don't know. It's kind of it's a humongous expense for us. Like, this is crazy. Should I do this? But a lot of them kind of promise, there's this job at the end, right? So we use some of the last money that we have in our savings account. And I start boot camp. Yeah, man. And at this point, we had some unexpected bills come our way. My wife is working. I'm looking for jobs. Meanwhile, trying to do boot camp part-time while I'm searching for jobs. Nothing comes through. And that's kind of where we hit a really kind of low point in our financial situation. So when looking at how much money we had left in the bank and realizing
how much money do you have left in the bank? Do you remember?
I think when I went to coding boot camp, I think I had like $9,000 left, which sounds like a lot of money, but not when you're not making any money. When your rent is like $1,500 a month plus electricity, plus you're feeding 8 people. It's pretty fast. So I paid for my boot camp with that money because we've tried to live without debt for a long time. And I don't, or maybe my credit cards already had met debt. I don't know why I didn't use a credit card, but I paid for it. And so I think I had I did put it on a credit card. So yeah, I'm kind of confused about the numbers, man. I think it was what I remember is seeing $9,000 in there, and that was gonna that takes us like a few months down the road till I'm done with boot camp.
And how much was the boot camp?
Boot camp was 5,500.
The full cost of the boot camp is 5,500, or is this
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
or was it cheap at that time? I think they're very expensive now. Or
Yeah. No, so I did my research for a long time. I think we could talk a little more about the
okay,
boot camp I
yeah,
went to in a
okay,
bit.
let's talk
Yeah,
about
if
that
you
later.
want.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you have nine grand. You put
Right.
5,500 into the coding boot camp.
Yeah, I don't remember if I put it on credit card or if I paid it, but either way, yeah.
Anyway,
So
you paid
we're
it
running.
still, like,
Yeah, we're running out of money, man. And
wow.
so I realized like we're not gonna make it. My wife's working. She's doing cleaning for a cleaning company. I almost took a job there because we needed cash, and but I decided to do this coding boot camp. Decided to take a risk, and it was really scary, man. And then we actually hit this point where we actually were we realized in order to finally make this full extent of this coding boot camp and to make it, we were going to need some help. So that's when we reached out, and we started looking around for help. So what we did was we actually signed up for government assistance, and we signed up for food stamps, and we like just kind of did that because that minused our grocery bill at least. Man, that was a super humbling time as a dad, as a husband. Um, I had been paying into these programs for years, and doing that, and I'm glad they're there. But I never thought that I would be the person like on the other end, needing that kind of help.
Food stamps
Um,
is basically the government provides you certain
yeah,
amount
yeah.
for
Let me tell you.
groceries.
Yeah. Basically, so in California, the way it works is they give you a debit card. Basically, it's like a
Mm-hmm.
special debit card that they load every month with money for you, depending on how much money you make and your family size, um, and then they'll or who's doing it. If it's just a single person, it's a smaller amount, but um, they'll take that and then so they load that up every month, and that's your monthly budget for food, and so you can just kind of spread that out for the month. So
Wow. You probably never imagined that you would end up on food stamps,
I
right?
I did it, man. It was super humbling. Yeah, super. Um, yeah, I don't know how many other words. I mean, I was a little ashamed. Uh, I remember hiding, kind of hiding my PIN card. It's a special card, right? Like
Really?
it looks different than a debit card. It looks like a debit card. I don't know why, but in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, And I remember hiding, trying to like pay for it. Uh,
And
Man, just so embarrassed.
how long were you on the food stamps?
I think overall, it took us a little while to climb out of to climb back to kind of being financially stable again. So I think it was almost a year, probably like eight
Wow.
months, 9 months. Yeah. So boot camp happens, man. Food stamps. I learned a lot during that time. I probably took a big hit as a dad, and then another thing is like we're a big family, right? And so big families kind of come with this stereotypical idea of poverty, right? And so yeah, man. So just trying to stick for stick up for that demographic, and I don't know, man. It was a really really hard time, like super
Wow.
humbling.
And like raising kids and they having some needs, like Christmas
Yeah,
gifts, and that must have been
yeah.
pretty tough too, right? You have
It definitely
kids
was,
comparing
man.
to other kids.
We try not to let them know like the depth of it, I guess. Just trying to protect them for like with what they need to know,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and trying to really help them to grow, just to they don't need to know exactly what our financial situation would look like, but we tell them like, hey, mom and dad don't have a lot of money right now. Like daddy's in school. He's almost, he's doing it. And, mommy's working really hard, and so I'd go to school. My wife would be at work for like most of the day. And I'm at home with the kids because paying for childcare is, especially with 6 of them, is pretty gnarly. And then then she'd come home, and then I'd hop onto school, and then and then we eat dinner, eat dinner, put the kids to bed. I'm back on school, and and that was kind of it for a couple months. Oh, and then in the middle of boot camp, Reading, the city of Reading, where I live, catches on fire. I'm not sure if you're familiar with all the crazy fires we've had in California, but we took like one of the top 5 spots of like the biggest fires in history. So we literally, I missed one of my big tests at boot camp because we evacuate because of
Wow.
the fires and stuff, man. It was kind of a wild time. So
Oh
anyways,
my
let me
God.
keep. I know I'm taking too long probably with this, but
So how were you able to even think about the program, about coding, when all this stuff is happening and there's a fire, uh, 6 kids, low cash,
right,
and food stamps, like
yeah,
it would have been very tough for me to focus because all these thoughts would have been like creeping in and like boom, boom, boom.
yeah.
It must have been
No,
pretty.
it definitely was hard, man. Like I remember, just like the stress of it, and I thought I was a better coder, like until then I went to boot camp and I realized like either I think a lot of my outside stress kind of affected me, like when I was doing, when I was coding and stuff, because like it just seemed really hard. It seemed really difficult. Like I understood a little bit. And at this time too, like random things of money would come in. I'd do random jobs for like websites, fix up people's WordPress sites, just hustling on the side, right? Like trying to make cash anyhow, anyway, just to make it and stuff. And so
So you had
it
some
was,
coding experience or web design experience from
yeah.
before?
So one of the hard parts about the church world is, you only can make kind of what comes in, right? You like what people give. And so there's not a ton of money in there. And I say that to say, so I started like doing websites for people. That's kind of how I got started with web
Mm.
design. And so but when I say doing websites, I mean, I would use WordPress to create, and I'd use templates on WordPress to fill out content so it wasn't actually web design. It was more like WordPress and small business marketing stuff. Um,
Oh, that's awesome then.
yeah, so a little bit. I kind of taught myself a little bit, but um, yeah, coding bootcamp was a little tough. Uh, I guess to kind of you know finish a
Yeah.
little bit of the
Yep.
story
Yep.
was to I in the middle of boot camp I started looking for a job. So um, I realized like coding bootcamp does not guarantee you a job. What actually guarantees you a job is the amount of work you put into it. And so I started really looking for a job. I'm only halfway through my program, and I'm telling people, hey, I'm coming out of program, trying to market myself like I'm amazing. I'm like, I'm about to, I know I'm about to enter into the world. Like you definitely want to hire me, because we're kind of in a desperate place. Um, yeah, and so actually, nothing, man. I put out a bunch of applications, just nothing, 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 nothing.
What's a bunch? 10?
Probably like 40 to 50. And these are not like and these are not like just send my resume. These are like tailor my resume, change my cover letter, email the hiring manager, LinkedIn the hiring manager, like kind of hustling. Like honestly, my time at the like one of the things I learned about working at the church was like how like work ethic and what that looks like and how to
Mm.
that's important. And so um yeah, and so
These
I
were like
did that.
customized applications, right? 50 customized
Right,
applications.
right. And so nothing, it's kind of hard. I got interviews. I got a bunch of interviews, but they'd ask me things about like I had no idea about like GitHub. They'd be like, talk to me about your GitHub workflow, and I'm like, I like GitHub. It's cool. I had no idea because I'd never used GitHub before. And in my boot camp, there wasn't collaboration in GitHub. It was mostly like I would push it up there. That's all I would do. So that didn't come till later on. But anyways, yeah. So I just got a bunch of stuff. What really happened was I'm searching the internet, and I find a job posting on Craigslist. So Craigslist under jobs, they have this like software development piece. I don't know if you've ever seen it before when you're looking for jobs, but and it was a job for a Java developer with like 2 to 3 years experience and all these frameworks and HTML and CSS, JavaScript, blah 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 blah, right? And it's for a local company. Now I live in Reading, and Reading's the town's decently sized, but the tech community is real tiny. And so I was like, a tech job, a local tech job, okay. So I go for it. I'm like, okay, I'm not qualified for this, but what I can do is I can write an email. So I just decided to go write an email. I'm like, hey, what's up? My name's Josh. I live here in Reading. You know, I'm passionate about technology, and I'm definitely not the person you're looking for. So I apologize if I'm wasting your time, but I just want you to know that if you're willing to teach someone, I'm willing to learn. Like, and I'm about to graduate boot camp, and so I'll be available, you know, at this point in time. Send it off. I don't even think about it, man. I'm just like, okay, like, you know, I'm totally just do not match this job description. And so I get an email back from them, and they're like, hey, you're definitely not what we're looking for. I just remember reading that email being like, oh, you know, like being sad when, you know, reading that. They're like, but we do have a web project that we're looking for some help on. Would you be up for contract, like a contract thing? And I was like, okay, I'll try it out. Let's see what this contract thing is all about. So, yeah, I took this contract job. I built them I helped revamp, I guess, their customer facing documentation website. We made it look cool. And when that was coming to an end, they're like, hey, we have another project for you. Are you interested? And I was like, yeah. And that was an internal documentation kind of website. I'm like, cool. Well, by this time, you know, all the fires had died down and everything, and I'm almost close to graduating boot camp. And I took my first boot camp like exam to graduate, and I failed. Everything was great. My Angular skills were lacking from what they told me. So I'm like, oh man, I'm so bummed about that. But I'm telling my job, I'm like, hey, I just want you guys to know I'm graduating like in a week or so, and I'm going to be looking for other jobs. I'm starting to put my application out there. I got an interview so far. So I don't know if you guys are interested in ever working with me full time, but I just want you to know that I'm looking for full-time employment. And if there's any chance of us to work together, like, I'd really enjoy that. And I had kind of built relationships with them the whole time too, you know. Like they're a local company. So they were like, they just kind of offhand mentioned like, hey, if you're in the area, like, you know, you ever want a quiet place to work, like come work from our office. I was there every week, man. I was showing my face because I wanted them to be like, I wanted them to know me. And I know that jobs don't come from like, okay, so there's a level of skill you have to have, but if you like someone, you're willing to you're like, I like this person. Like, I'm willing to kind of work with them. Yeah. And so I wanted to get to know people. I was there all the time, man. They were like, they couldn't get rid of me. So that's funny. But yeah, then they offered me, they said, all right, well, we want to bring you on as a junior Salesforce developer.
Wow.
I have no clue what Salesforce is. I have stumbled into a Salesforce ISV, and I thought, you know, I learned a little bit about what they did. They sell software on top of Salesforce to car dealerships and car manufacturers, and honestly, their product is amazing, and it's kicking butt in the automotive industry. And so I stumbled upon this, and they're like, "I want to bring you on." I'm like, yes, this is it, man. You know, I'm so excited to see this job offer. My boot camp promises me, you know, this 6-figure salary. You know, this is amazing. It's the time, right? When I come in, and here comes this job offer, and like I said, we're a small town, and they said we're going to give you a job at $55 a year. I was like, that is way better than what I'm making now. So heck yes, sign me up, you know.
How much were you making?
Well, I mean, at that point in time, I was just doing contract stuff. So my hours weren't set. It was when I could work. Meanwhile, I'm juggling their project while finishing up boot camp too. My wife's working, so like I'm working late. I'm you know, my kids are running around the house. I'm like typing at the kitchen table. Like, put that down. You know, just you know, it was interesting,
Wow,
man. So that's kind of how I got my first shot at Salesforce.
that's
Yeah, I've been
amazing.
talking for a long time. Is there any questions or something?
Oh, that's an amazing story. That's amazing, really. 50 applications and emailings and like reaching out. You really hustled. You really, really hustled. You deserved. But it's
Thank
amazing
you.
how such good opportunities come by accident.
You're right.
One of the things that stands out for me of what you do well is communicate. You communicate very clearly,
Thank you.
concisely, and just the email you sent out, like you recognize, hey, I'm not the right candidate for you, but if you're willing to teach, I'm willing to learn, and 3, 4 sentences, boom, done, right?
Hmm.
Very cool, very cool, and that's probably one of your strong sides, right? It's
Yeah, man. Yeah. Maybe I think communication. I mean, I did communicate for a living, right? Like as a minister,
mm-hmm,
like every
mm-hmm,
week, I'm talking to people and stuff.
mm-hmm.
I just really like people though. Like, so I just try to show people like, hey, I like you. Like, you know, like I don't know. That sounds weird, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I that's one of the qualities I notice along a lot of people who made successful career changes is that they can communicate very easily. Yeah,
Hmm.
not like introverts. They're more extroverted developers can
Right.
make more extroverted people can easier make career changes, I believe. You're like more
Mm,
willing to maybe put yourself out there and get people to listen to you. And
yeah. I would say it comes more naturally to extrovert because I've seen some.
mm,
It comes more naturally, you know. I had some. I have some. I'm working with some people that are very introverted, or I've worked with some people that are introverted, not talk a lot, but they have coding chops. They could probably get them into companies that I might not be able to get into. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how cute you are or how great your personality is, but like you better be able to do the job. You better be able to do it. You know, these companies are maybe some of the was it the FANG companies like you know they need top notch developers too and people. So there's it's kind of this mixture.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So your first developer job was $55,000, probably for California. This was poverty line salary. Was it very
Yeah,
low, right? For Northern California,
this
that's
is why we're still kind of doing the food stamp thing, man.
mm,
We we were finally starting to make money. I remember, you know, having that conversation with them because our savings account is shrinking, 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 and we never ran out of money. We've never, you know, never went without a roof over our heads. Like we always ate, we were taken care of, man. And so I'm super grateful for that, and that we got to do that. And so that was amazing. Um, but yeah, but 55 a year is kind of not what I was promised either. So boot camps, you know, show you all these statistics. You know, average developer salaries are 120 a year, or you know, and you're like, holy crap! You're like, wow, if I could just make 90 or 80, that'd be amazing. You know, um, yeah, they don't tell you that they're only talking about San Francisco and New York and
oh, really?
Chicago, right? LA, like they're not they and then if because you have to what you have to do is when you read that they have like all these asterisks at the bottom. Then you scroll all the way to the bottom of the page at like 5-point fonts, and it's like only from San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, you know, and you're like, oh man, um, and so I'm kind of like narking the fact that I have a job, but you know that I got a job at that salary range. But it's I'm just all I'm expressing is that like the expectation didn't quite match up,
Mm,
right? And I'm like, you know, can I do better somewhere else? You know, should I continue to look for a job? You know, kind of some of those questions.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, and then but then I took the job, man. Just grateful.
Yeah,
Grateful to be able to work for
of
them.
course. The most
Hmm.
difficult thing I feel for career change is just getting the first job where they
Right.
can start off their career, where they can start learning, where they can can just kick off their career. I think that's the most difficult thing, and I think it's amazing that the company gave you a chance.
Me
Uh,
too, man. So grateful. So grateful
yeah.
to them for
Do you
giving me a
remember how
chance
you
on that.
celebrated your job offer? How did you feel when you
Oh
heard that they
man, I
can?
felt amazing. They'd kind of let it slip that they wanted to hire me, wanted to work with me. So
What do you mean let it slip?
so like the like the office manager, the HR person was kind of like, we're interested in working with you. If you're interested in, it was kind of uh
Hint?
kind of flirt. They
Oh,
were, if you're like flirting with someone and you're like, you send them a note, you're like, do you like me? Yes or no? That note had already been passed. And so nothing had officially happened yet. And so I kind of
oh,
had an
okay.
idea, but man, I just remember feeling so good. The fact, like, I knew that this was a place for me to grow and learn. And I knew this was not my final destination. And I knew that I just needed a foot in the door. And if someone would give me a shot, I knew I would work hard for them.
Cool,
So,
cool.
but we were excited, man. We definitely were like, we told all of our kids, we're jumping up and down in the house, like it's going to change things for us. So it was rad, man.
That's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and when you start getting hints that you'll get hired, uh, were you also like inside, like, wow, finally made it?
Right. Right. Yeah. Cause I mean, it's hard. Like when you're in coding bootcamp and you're kind of grinding through like these things that you think like that are just kind of abstract. Like I'm like writing SQL statements, right? And I'm like, I don't understand. Like it's abstract to me. Like I'm just doing homework. It's not like, yeah.
Yeah,
So you're in those times you're just grinding and you're just like, okay, I just got to get this assignment done, and you don't really realize how it's going to connect to your future. But then there's the payoff, right? Where you're like, like I successfully. So here's the thing too. Like when you leave church world, um, like I don't come with I didn't have a ton of skills that could transfer into like other places, right? Like I was good at leading volunteers. I think I'm okay at speaking. I think I'm, man. So it's like I don't know, man. Like there's not a lot of skills that kind of transfer over, right? Or maybe I
hmm,
just wasn't super skilled at, kind of twisting some of that around. So I knew I needed a new skill set, and so went to see that hard work kind of paying off felt really good.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's
yeah, man.
y- so you got your first job like soon after the boot camp ended.
Yeah, a little bit after my boot camp ended, they offered me that role,
So like
and
1 week
and
after the boot camp ended, 2 weeks.
oh, I don't know, I don't remember the time specifically. I'm a little fuzzy on time frames, like as far as exact time. I just remember, yeah, it's probably about a week or something after, somewhere
Oh,
around
that's
there that
amazing,
I graduated. Right?
Joshua. That's amazing. I know.
Yeah.
I think it's very stressful looking for a job, and imagine, uh, like a lot of people don't find jobs. I think out of boot camps.
Right.
I know the statistics are very high, but sometimes I'm skeptical about them. And it's amazing that you were able to land a full-time job within a week of
Yeah.
completing the boot camp. Well done.
I do have to say though, I had been looking for. Remember, my boot camp was maybe 4 months long. So about 2 months into it, I started looking for jobs. So that's when those 30 to 50 applications that I put
Mm-hmm.
out, like
Mm-hmm.
that it was during that time. So I guess in my mind, I know that the statistics they put out, 90% of our students get jobs, but it's within the first year of completing their boot camps. So like that means month 11, right? Like that could be month 10. Like that's
Yeah.
far. That's a lot of time without work. So I took that same idea and I said, okay, I'm going to start my search earlier in the process, halfway through. Um, and so one of the cool things about my coding bootcamp too was they taught you two full stacks. So I learned Python, and I could do Django and Flask apps using Python. And then they taught us the mean stack, right? Mongo, Express, Angular, Node. And so when I had finished the Python stack, I started looking for Python jobs all over the place. I was like, yeah, I'm a Python developer, you know. Um, and so that's kind of where that started.
Mm. Let's talk about the coding bootcamp.
Sure.
So, why did you decide to join Coding Dojo? There are a lot of other boot camps in the space, and probably in Northern California, there are even more than in a lot of other parts of US, like
Right.
Lambda, App Academy, and like this. This is just a couple of I know, like Hack Reactor. Why did you
Yeah.
choose Coding Dojo? Was it the price, or was it convenient, close to your home, or I don't know, job
No.
support program?
Yeah. So they did have a job support program, but the catch is, and this is most coding boot camps, the catch is you have to be willing to relocate to San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, all those places they get that salary data from. You have to be willing to relocate. So because the idea is if you don't get a job within, 18 months of graduating this boot camp, then we're going to refund you your money back. That's usually the
Oh,
thing.
really?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So some of them come with job refunds. I mean, with tuition refunds, and but that tuition refund is all whether you're willing to move. And I wasn't really willing to move. We had just moved up to Northern California a year or 2 years before. I don't remember how long. Yeah, 2 years ish before. And we're trying to figure out. We don't want to move again. We don't want, especially when you have a big family, moving to San Francisco does not sound fun.
Yeah, to the most expensive city in the US.
Right, right. Right. Even if it would get me an amazing job. So, yeah, Hack Reactor got recommended to me, as well as my church. My church, they actually started a boot camp. So they have one called Bethel Tech, and it's the first faith-based. This is not the church I came from. It's the church that I'm currently going to. It's the first
Okay.
faith-based coding boot camp. And
Wow.
yeah, I was kind of crazy. So
Well
that was another
done.
one I was considering. Yeah, and that was another one I was considering. But I just couldn't justify spending $30,000 on most of these boot camps.
That's what Lambda
Some
School
and
costs. I know.
yeah, I think Hack Reactor's in that same range.
That's crazy, right?
Um,
$30,000, like a 1 year of college tuition.
right, right.
I don't know how people like decide to pay for that, but Coding Dojo so is much cheaper than, right?
Much cheaper. Yeah. I'm not sure what the rates are now. They could have been up. This was 2-3 years ago. I think it was. I think I paid either 55 or 6,000, 55 or 5. And the reason is because they have a minority discount. So my last name's Cruz. I'm Hispanic, and so they have a minority discount. Uh, if you're not the majority of people in tech, then you get a discount. So I got like $500 off too. That's kind of cool. So yeah, man. And the other reason I chose them was because they teach you two full stacks. So their in-house program teaches 3 full stacks. Their online program teaches 2 full stacks. And so I figured with 2 stacks under my belt, I can apply to twice as many jobs than the average boot camp graduate.
And how long is the program?
I think it's 4 months.
And when you were paid this, let's say $5,500, that paid off the whole tuition, or would you owe some money once you get a full-time job?
No, that was it. That was the whole tuition.
Wow, that's
So
very
they're a
affordable.
little bit more. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why. Yeah, I think it's a great place. I For me, so their platform's a little more hands off too than some of the other ones, as far as I understand. I have a limited understanding of what other boot camps are like, so this could be naive. I could be naive in this, but it's sort of there's modules. You click through the module, you watch the video, you do the assignment, and then once a week there's like a teacher that teaches you, and then other times there's like office hours that you can log in and kind of like get your questions answered and stuff like that.
So it's a lot of
Where
self-paced.
right.
Mm.
So it could be, yeah. So there's that. So I think like other ones like Hack Reactor, I know is like a full-time commitment. You're on video chats all day, at least from when I studied it. That's what I understood. You're on video chats all day. You're interacting with your teacher, and so it costs more, but there's more interaction too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think Lambda School, although it costs $30,000, you only start paying once you get a full-time job. So until then, it's
Okay.
$0. Did you consider this kind of a payment model?
I did. Um, I did consider that. I think some of those schools also have um, that sort of model where it's you have to like relocation's part of that.
Oh,
That's at
really?
least that's how I understood that. Yeah, I could be wrong, but I'm trying to remember why I didn't do those. Also,
Is it
this was
called
3
the?
years. This was 2 years ago, so I think some of those weren't
Maybe
as popular.
I see. Now the popular thing is income sharing model, where
Yeah,
you pay $0 until you get a job, but then you pay a
right.
lot of money once you get a job.
You do, yeah, yeah, it definitely. So and I knew that it sounded stupid to pay money like to go to this boot camp when we were poor and and we were broke, right? Um, but at the same time, I knew this was an investment into my future. Like this sucks right now, and this is really hard right now. But in the future, this is going to pay off. That's my hope, right? In the future, this is going to really, really help us.
So
So
you're very smart in that you started looking for a job 2 months into the coding bootcamp, and you were pretty brave too. Maybe unjustly
yeah,
brave, right? Because
yeah. I could have been foolish. I'm borderline foolish. That's what that was. Yeah, that was
yeah.
borderline.
But then you gotta interviewing is also a skill, right?
Yeah,
It's until you apply and you start getting these rejections, and then you start getting this feedback. You might not know what you gotta focus your learning on. So by the time you're on
right,
interview 10, you're like way better, right? And
right.
now you're 3 months into the program, and by the close to the end of the program, you're like fit and like at top speed technically and also interview skills. So is this something you would recommend to other people who want to change their careers, that they start interviewing a bit earlier, like not at
Yeah,
the very end of the program?
right. Yeah, I would totally recommend that, man. Like, in my mind, you need maybe you might have to get through 50 no's before you get a yes, right? If you start that 50 way earlier in the process, then
Mm,
you're not struggling at the end. And then for me, this was all or nothing. Like we had kind of bet the farm on this working out. Like this, I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have to move back in with my parents, like as a 30-year-old man. Like I don't know. I have no idea. Like, but we had something to figure. This was all or nothing for me, so I had to make it happen.
among all your classmates, were you the only one who got into Salesforce? Or did you even know your
Yeah, I
classmates?
think
Can you even
so.
compare yourself to them? Yeah.
Yeah. Some of them started their own companies. A lot of them are doing web dev stuff. I'm not staying in touch with most of them, mostly through LinkedIn. Do I follow them? But
Mm,
yeah, it was mostly yeah.
web
I think
development.
from what I know, I'm pretty much the only one that's in Salesforce right now.
Would you recommend Salesforce development to other people, or do you think something more mainstream like web development is better? Have you thought about this yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. I honestly think Salesforce is kind of a hidden gem, right? Salesforce is growing. If you and now by Salesforce's own statistics, they're that by 2030 they're supposed to be like 150,000 or something Salesforce jobs that are vacant or something like that. I don't remember. It's in their marketing speak, right? But you know, there's a ton of opportunity here. There's not a ton of need. There's not a ton of
Supply.
not need supply. Thank you. Yeah. So I definitely think it's a great place to take a look at when you're looking at specializing. So what's your opinion on that? Say like specializing versus being broad.
I think being Salesforce developer is better because, uh, firstly, there is less supply of developers, so you have less
Right.
competition, and as a
Mm-hmm.
result, I think you make more money.
Yeah.
But the downside is that it's very hard to land your first Salesforce developer job
Right.
because the salary is higher.
Mm.
There is more demand on them, I feel. While because typical salary for web developers is lower. Starting out salary is pretty low. I think companies are more willing to take risk on you, and
Okay.
uh, and so that's my opinion so far. So on the one hand, I encourage people to become Salesforce developers, but then
Yeah,
if they follow through, it's hard for them to get a job. So
it
there's
is.
this there's this huge gap. But once you cover this gap, you're poof, you're in the
Yeah,
rocket.
right,
And
right.
so it's amazing how you cover this gap and uh, through some
Yeah, I came out of left field, man. It was a weird thing.
you hustled.
I tried, man. I tried. It was crazy.
So how long you been a Salesforce developer now?
2 years.
2 years, Salesforce
Hmm.
developer. So you come from a totally non-traditional any kind of science background, yeah? It's like the
Right,
like humanitarian background,
right.
humanities background. How do you feel as a coder right now? Do you feel like a coder right now, or you feel like you're like still like uh,
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's interesting. I dealt with a lot of imposter syndrome when I was first getting started. Like I would show up to work and I would, I did dumb things. I put, DML in my for loops and, SQL queries in my for loops and I had unlimited recursion on my triggers. And it was just like, just all the mistakes you can make. And so then I'd look over at the other developers that I'm working at and they're amazing, man. They're just firing out, test coverage and Apex and and they're just killing it. And I'm like, ah, um, and it took me a long time. I get kind of passionate. I just did a Salesforce. I just did a rant in someone's Salesforce question about uh, um, imposter syndrome. They were like, is it okay to Google stuff, as a Salesforce developer? And I'm like, man, you got to stop feeling that way. Like stop, because here's the thing: imposter syndrome for me is like, it's comparing, right? Like you're comparing yourself to someone else, and you'll never win. Like there's always someone better, stronger, faster, more intelligent. But you know
more
what I like to tell
experienced?
people?
Yeah,
Right. I like to tell them, I'm like, hey, you know what? Like you're pretty amazing. Did you know that like in 2015, a study was done that only 0.5% of the population in the world like knows how to code, and you're building things like that no one has any idea how to do. Like
yeah.
you are rare, you are amazing, you are special. Like that there's something, you know what I mean? Like we do something, we get to do something that's amazing that a lot of people don't even understand and are freaked out about. So, and I think it's awesome that we get to do that.
So how do
So
you
don't
overcome
be,
the imposter syndrome? So give us some ideas, suggestions to
yeah.
other people who might be in a similar boat.
I realized that my comparison was what was killing me. And I realized that if we flipped roles, right? So like, let's say I was at the company first. Now like one of my things is I love front end. I love design. I love beautification. My goal is to make Salesforce feel less sterile as possible.
Yeah,
I think that's you know what I mean? Because it's very
the,
businessy. So I
yeah,
love building beautiful things, dashboards, colors. I love that. So if my friends who were the backend developers came in and saw me building these beautiful dashboards, these beautiful, web pages that I enjoy building, like they would feel imposter syndrome against me, right? They'd be like, oh man, I'm not that good. Like, look at what he does. Like my mock-ups are terrible. Like, oh, and they would feel bad. And so it's this never ending thing that it's all who you compare yourself, and it's all about what's going on in your head. So number one thing is continue to push through. You're going to grow. You're going to get better and better and better. And as you do, you're going to get paid more. You're going to get more responsibility. It's going to be better for you and your family. But stay strong. Like don't like whenever a comparison thought would come into my head, I'd tell that voice to shut up. I'm like, no, shut up. I don't want to listen to you. Like I'm gonna make this, man. Like I'm gonna do this. And so I'd come home some days, depressed,
really?
talking to my wife, like, yeah, I mean, I just felt like I'm like, I don't know how long I'm going to keep this job. Like these guys are getting so much stuff done in a day, and I'm stuck on this dumb like test class that I don't understand how to make. Like these guys are killing it, and I'm probably going to get fired. I don't know. So yeah, that's a great way to come home to your wife after you barely land a job, right? Oh man, it was wild.
Yeah, especially when you have the daily sprints, and then everyone goes through like what they did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. And
They
they're
have
like,
this
"What'd you
huge
do, Josh?"
yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I'm still stuck on that one test class. I don't know. It's telling me to make an account. I don't know how to make an account, man. Can you like, what does that look like? I tried Googling it, and what I pasted in there didn't work, you know? Like, and these other guys are like, yeah, so today I wrote 4 triggers. They're all updating the account and contact and lead object. They're all working together. My map within a map within a map is correctly, you know, formatting everything to string. And I'm like, what? Like, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry, that
it's
was a little rant.
no, no,
I didn't mean to go there.
I totally agree. I can relate that to that too. I have some colleagues who have 10, 15 years experience, and they hardcore good developers,
Right.
and and I remember when I was just 1 year ago, I was much more junior developer, and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Right.
whoa, what is this tornado? I'm like, and but what I noticed though is because I keep working hard every day, I
Mhm.
study, I'm learning, and I'm sharing my knowledge, helping other people. I've been
Yeah.
closing in on the gap. They're still way ahead of me, but I'm catching up. Yeah,
Good
and
job,
then
man.
as you get
You're
more
doing it.
experience, the gap is the 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 gap doesn't feel so big, even though it's big, because I'm getting really smart. It's getting more minute. So, so I recommend. I think as long as you're making progress every day, you're
Right.
totally fine.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. Like, you know, keep just the Salesforce Exchange is a great place to ask questions when you're stuck or if you're the
yeah,
only person on your team.
yeah.
Leaning on people, asking people, and YouTube. Your channel is a great example. Like, in my story, I think we'll get to there in a second. I actually get a new job, and I used your channel. It was one of your interviews it was like a Salesforce developer interview that you did. It was a mock interview
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know, you've probably been through this too. When you're looking for jobs as a Salesforce developer, like there's a lot of content around developer interviews, but there's not a lot of content around Salesforce developer interviews. It's so minute. So I have no idea what my interview is going to look like. I have no idea. Am I going to do algorithm questions? Are they going to ask me order of execution in Salesforce? What are they going to do? Like I have no idea what it's going to look like. So your channel is a great resource for that. I just YouTube everything and I Google everything, and that's how you
Yeah,
do it, man.
th- that's one of the things also I was amazed to discover as I was becoming a developer is how much developers just Google. I thought, how do they have keep all this information in their head? How do they know all this? Are they like,
Yeah.
I'm never gonna know so much. They're just good Googlers, and they're really fast Googlers. And
Yeah,
I should not be shy about Googling. And
exactly.
yeah, and that's what I tell
I
people
think
too.
we
That
all do it.
yeah. So I wish this was one of the skills I learned in school or in
Yeah.
university even is how to Google. It's
Yeah.
totally under valued skill. All
I'm
right.
with you, man.
So that's an amazing story about how you went from the coding dojo to a Salesforce developer career. And so you got your first job, you were making 55 grand. You s-
Hmm.
ho- and then you moved on to a different company, right?
I
Uh,
did. Yeah. So you know, they hire me and they're like, all right, well, go learn Trailhead. Like that was my training. They're like, all right, you know, the company was moving fast, you know, it's growing really fast. They're like, we don't like there was no one really that had time to train me. So they're like, this is Trailhead. Like we'll assign you a small amount of work. When you're done, learn Trailhead. And I'm like, okay. So that's what I did. And I started learning, you know, I went on the developer track and I just started going down and learning, learning stuff that way. I bought myself some classes on not is it
Udemy.
Udemy? Yeah,
Yes.
Udemy. Yeah, some of those Salesforce classes, and yeah, and so I just went for it, man. And that's how I got my start, right? So about a year goes by. You know, 55 is not a lot of money. My wife starts going back to school. She's still in school now, and so she stops working, um, and she so we're back to single income. We're barely making it, man. You know, we're off of food stamps. So um Are we? Or maybe like they were coming to an end. They were tapering off. Um, and because while I was working there, I was still on that for a little while, and then until we kind of got caught up. And so actually they don't. Anyways, yeah, my details. But so we're still doing that. We're barely making it, but we are making it. Like on a single income. My wife's back in school. When she's not in school, she's watching. She's here with the kids, and we're making it work. We're making it happen. I realize my job tells me, hey, if you get your Dev 1 cert, like there's a financial kind of reward for you, you know, and we're going to give you a raise, and we'll move you from junior dev to dev. And I'm like, okay. So it was $10,000 raise, man, 65. I mean, like that was, I was like, that's like $400 more a month, babe. Like, you know, like I don't remember, I don't know what the math was, but I was like, that'd be amazing for us, you know. So I work hard, man. I do all the studying I can. I take my Dev 1 test. I failed. I take it again, and I pass it. So I get it, man. I'm so proud of this, like this piece of HP printer paper with my little, you know, it's light blue coloring. I'm like, can't they make those more exciting? Like, does it have to just be a plain piece of like, I work so hard for this. Like, this is going to change my life, you know? So anyways, I get my raise, man. Finally we have some breathing room of like finances. Cause we were like probably plus or minus, I think in our budgets, we were like plus or minus $200. Like after paying all of our bills and all of our groceries and everything a month, we would have $200 left over. And that was like our money that we would put into savings or that we would use on fun things. Like we're pretty tight, right? Like, but we're pretty good with money, or I thought we were. And then of course we end up on food stamps, but, yeah. So anyways, we do that. A couple months later, probably 2 months later, I get this LinkedIn message from this recruiter, and she's like, hey, I think you're the perfect fit for this job. You know, the same crap that every recruiter tells you, right? I'm like, you're a liar. You know, I don't even believe these people anymore. I'm like, forget it. You just lie to me. All these people, Mason Frank, you know, all these, you're liars. You know, who the heck makes that kind of money, man? So I didn't believe her. And she finally, so she doesn't leave me alone. She emails me, Facebook, she LinkedIn messages me, she text messages me. I'm like, how the heck did you get my cell phone number? Like, that's not proprietary information. She like looked me up some background way and found my text message, found my number, my cell phone number. And she text messages me. And I was like, okay. She's like, just get me on this. Let's talk on the phone. I'm like, okay. So I get on the phone with her. She tells me about the Salesforce role. It's primarily, they're looking for someone who primarily loves front end. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. That's what I love. They're like, you need to have Apex, you need to have Lightning Web Components, but your primary focus is going to be on LWCs. Like, is that something you're comfortable with? I'm like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Well, then she's like, well, let's talk about salary. She's like, the salary range is about is 125. Is that a place you're comfortable with? I'm in my head. I'm like, what? Like 125,000 a year? That's crazy. Like I was, my mind was, but on the phone, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of in the range I was thinking about. Yeah. But inside I'm like, what? I'm going crazy. So I'm now interested in this job, right? Because first of all, some of my passions are at play, making beautiful things. And then at the other side is this job. Well, I start interviewing for this company. This is the best interview I've ever had in my entire life. In the middle of my first interview, I'm asking the guy, I'm like, would you like to see some of my work? Like some of the mock-ups and stuff that I do? He's like, yeah, this is during the interview. He's like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I pull up some of the stuff. I'm like, yeah, here's the thing we're building. He's like, wait, you can build that in Salesforce? I'm like, yeah, it's just a mock-up or something. He's like, wait right here. He runs out and he grabs some of his teammates. He's like, look, we can build this. And I was like, this interview is going really well. I was like, okay. I mean, I might sound like I'm bragging, but I mean, he was just really excited about that. You could make Salesforce not look like Salesforce. That's what he was really excited about. So I'm like, anyways, I went through the application process, went through all the interviews. We get down to negotiating. I find out that they are not interested in hiring me at 120. They want to pull me out at 90, I think it is 90,000 a year. I'm like, oh, that sucks, because when you're looking for a new job, especially with a raise, at least me, like I sit home at the take home paycheck calculators. I'm like there, and I'm like looking, I'm like, oh, that's checking out the amount of money I can make a month. I'm such a dork like that. But I went through that, man, and so we started negotiating back, and so we ended up negotiating back and forth. And I'm like, actually, I feel like I'd be really comfortable at 110. They said the most we can do is 105. What do you think about that? And I was like, all right, 105 is good. So in 1.5 years or 1.8 years, right? Maybe like it was over a year and a half, a little over a year and a half. I have jumped from a job at making 55K a year to like for 1 month making 65K a year to the next month making 105K a year. And it was mind blowing. Like it was, I couldn't believe, I was like, these jobs are real. Like they do exist, so yeah. And then leaving my job was probably one of the hardest things I had to do. Kind of having that sit down with your boss and, looking them in the face and telling them thank you, like trying to convey that you're so grateful for like everything they've given you and that, you're so grateful for the shot that they, the chance they took on you, all that they taught you, that you learned on some other company time, telling them thank you, but then being like, but I'm still going to take this job over here because it's, it's literally double almost what I make. Oh, plus there's bonuses, so I'm like, it'll be over almost double what I'm making. Plus my first job, small company, startup-esque, they couldn't afford healthcare for us. And so they, just some of those things. Like, so I have a family, I need to take care of these guys and make sure, things like that are taken care of. So.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Doubling salary. And
yeah,
what you did really well there is that you showed your work. You weren't just a resume. You weren't just blah, blah, blah. I can do this, that. You showed them your work. Your life changed materially when you doubled your salary.
Oh, man. This is incredible, man. So, literally it changed. Like I'm literally on food stamps, like government assistance. Like, when you look at society and you think about people that are on those programs, me, like I had some prejudices and some ideas of like what I thought those people were like. And I didn't know that I was going to be those people. I had to get that fixed in myself. Right. And so, so literally from that point of view, right, to coming over here now, like where I'm it's literally repairing like all my financial messes. We sold our house. I told you I loved real estate, right? And I told you that like it's kind of opening the door for me to do that again. I'm able to provide for my kids in amazing ways. Like me and my kids, we all nerd out, right? And so we all play video games together. I have 5 boys and 1 girl. So I have 5 other PCs in my house, and we play games together, and we just nerd out and we shoot each other and do, like stuff like that. Like I could never do that. I could never afford 5, 6 PCs to, you know what I mean? Like, and so it gives my kids, and then not only that, but like how much that helps their schooling. Right. And some of my kids are trying to learn coding, that's really rad. I love that. But yeah, like it changes a lot, man. And, it also allows us to give back too. Like I get to, when I hustle, like that's just what I do. I always have side hustles going on, always things like that. I've taken a step back from a lot of them, which gives me more time to give into the community because there's not that much of a pressing need anymore for me to be, trying to hustle or scrape for every dollar. So I've taken a step back. So I started my own Salesforce group locally up here. I was one of the leaders for that. And that's kind of over now. When I stepped away from my company, that was local. But I also do. We have a developer group. I'm one of the co-leaders of that. I run the Google development group. I'm one of the co-leaders for the Google development group of our city. So those are two different development groups. I'm a part of a real estate investor meetup. Like I get to give back and I get to teach people what I've learned, and I really believe in that. Like I believe that we're blessed to be a blessing, right? And so that's just that's kind of how I like to live my life. I like to support other people, and I've actually been pointing people to Salesforce development. I'm like, dude, do Trailhead, get certified. Like I'll help you get a job. Like we'll figure something out. I'll give you, I'll rep you to my company. We'll see what happens. But yeah, really getting to give back. So it's changed a lot, man. Yeah. And most people have been through that time where they're stressed out about finances. And we all know what that feels like and how scary that is,
I think that's the most scary thing about US. Although US is country of opportunity, and I myself moved to US in 2011, and I struggled finding a job for a month and a half, for a month. And I remember how stressful I was. And I was single. I was 25 years old, I think. And in US, compared to like other countries, I come from a third world country in Central
Right.
Asia called Kyrgyzstan. You don't have bills coming in all the time. You can relatives, you can eat food, and you have like very little feed, so you can just coast. In US, there's no coasting. Yeah, you gotta hustle.
Right.
The bills keep coming, and
Yeah.
and the
Yeah,
more
they do,
you're
man.
unemployed, the more questions people start asking, like, why are you unemployed? Are you unemployable? And so I was getting stressed out thinking about all those things, and that was one of the most terrifying moments in my life, is just realizing that I'm unemployed and I didn't know how I'm gonna find a job. But for you with 6 kids, a wife, and that's amazing how much mental strength you had to overcome this
Thank you.
period.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, I try to stay joyful, man. I try to stay happy when hard times come. But those are some really, like, especially when we first moved here and everything fell through. Our house fell through, all of our finances. I remember being so stressed, like waking up at 3 a.m. and like being sick to my stomach, like stressed, like, oh my
that's what
gosh.
happens, right? When you're stressed out, you get stomach cramps.
Right, man. I was living that, man. It was gnarly.
Dang. So how do you overcome such stress? Do you have some techniques?
Well, I mean, for me, you know, I feel like I have a spiritual strength too, right? So like, there's that, and so that gives me a lot of hope, honestly, and a lot of joy, knowing that knowing that my identity is not based upon how much money I make or whatever. Knowing that my identity is based on this is me. I'm sorry if I'm overstepping here,
No,
but
no,
like
this
this is
is
just yeah. My identity is based on like what I feel like God says about me, and not how much money I make.
yeah, but you're
Right?
unemployed.
Is
Your kids are hungry.
right,
So
right, and then also being angry at him, being like, "What the heck did you do to me? Why did you leave me? Why did you tell me to come to this? I felt like you told me to come to the city, and like, where are you? But I think that's maturing, man. I think there are definitely times like in faith where you're like, I don't know what the heck you're doing, and this is scary. Like, you need to do something now. I need you. But other than that, too, like, I think pulling on your past victories is a great way to think through, like, getting through. You're like, you know what? I've been through this. I've been through that. And in
mm,
my childhood, I conquered this. Like, and though, like, if I can do those things, then I can do this. Like, this is hard, but I can do this. I think it's really strong knowing you have a good, you already, everyone has victories in their life. Like, your childhood could be sucky and you could have come from some really rough stuff, but you know what? You've still come from it, and it's been tough for you, but you can still, you have those victories inside of you. To remember that each victory is like a step for your next level, for the next thing that you have. So I think that's a good way to always to keep in mind.
very nice idea. Seriously. because self-confidence is low when you're unemployed, when you cannot feed your family, right? So,
It's true, man. It's true. Yeah.
dang, that's amazing. You know, the story, the movie, Pursuit of Happiness is amazing. But he was with one kid,
Yeah.
and I think he was in San Francisco too. But you had 6 kids, and you had a wife, and
Hmm.
and I think it'll be a really cool movie to make about you, how you got through this.
Oh man, I don't know. That'd be
You should
crazy.
write, you should write a book about this, or like
Write
an.
a book, yeah. Yeah, I think my hope is to one day, my hope is to one day, through investing, through like creating business stuff, to be able to be, kind of free with my time. One of the reasons that we actually moved up here is because we have a passion to kind of help people that are uh, like survivors of human trafficking. That was the main reason we moved from Southern California to Northern California.
Mm,
There's a program up here that we wanted to be a part of, and so our long term vision is probably overseas, somewhere, um, probably Thailand. We've and Yeah, and so me helping with the spiritual side of things, and then I told you my wife was in school, her helping with more of the she's going to school to be an abuse and trauma therapist, and to kind of help with on that end of things, man. We have 6 kids. Kids' lives are precious, and to see the things that some of these kids have gone through um, is really hard. So I don't know why I brought that up. I forgot where that was going,
I
but
was talking about the movie, and then making a
oh,
movie, and maybe this is one of the things you want to cover in the movie, or you can write
yeah,
about in
maybe,
the
man.
book.
Right. I was saying I hope to someday be free with my time to do what I want to do with it,
Okay,
and yeah, I think so.
so it's amazing
Yeah, I don't know.
that your like wife, like there were a couple of people probably that were critical in your making this transition journey successful, right?
Yeah.
Is your wife one of them that she like?
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah,
all the
it's
times that
amazing.
she like watched my kids, watched our kids, I should say. Um, she watched them, and she believed in me, and she's like, hey, and honestly, like taking risk is hard. Like it's scary, like moving to another city, but having her be like, hey, like I'm with you, we're together in this, like
Yeah,
it feels good
cool. Who
for
are
sure.
some other people who you feel made this change possible for you? Because I feel like there's always someone. I know
Hmm.
inner strength is important, but there's some people who make certain things happen that
Right.
help you get to the finish line. Could, were there certain people that you want to point out?
Yeah, I do. Man, there was a lot of people that helped us get here. Let's see. First off would be, um, some of the people in our church rallied around us and sent us cash when we were broke. Um,
Really?
so that was amazing. That was so good,
Wow,
for us.
my God.
Yeah. The other thing was the Romanian family that took us in.
Yeah, that's also crazy, right?
Right.
Amazing.
Yeah. If you would have told me, hey, Josh, you move to Northern California, you're going to move in with a Romanian family, like fresh to the United States, like they're going to bring you into their family, man. But obviously we're lifelong friends, and they actually moved back to Romania now, and so we keep in touch with them, and but just being so grateful that they gave us that, they let us do that, and when we were losing cash, like to stay in hotels and Airbnbs, and that's expensive. Airbnbs are like $200 a night, for a house or
Yeah.
something like that.
How did you find the Romanian family? Was it a church
Yeah,
or
it was
the?
church. Yeah, it's
Mm,
community. Like having people around you that believe the same thing, like that really try to live it out, like instead of just talk about it. Man, it was
mm,
so cool to have people like that in our lives. And there was a time that we were literally my wife was like, hey, I'm done. Like we literally it's a crazy story. We literally ran out of money in our bank account, and we had to ask for a loan from a family member. And my wife was like, I'm done. Like I can't do this anymore. Like let's go back to Southern California. And I was like, and this is and I'm having conversations with with God too. I'm like, what the heck? Like I feel like I'm up here because I want to do your work. Like, that's why I'm here. So where are you in this? You know, like, and I said, all right, but I'm not going to leave until the last possible thing we can do. I'm going to do everything in my power to stay up here because I feel like we're supposed to be here. So we did that, man. We called and asked some people for help. We were like, hey, we need help. And actually someone was like, I've actually been trying to send you money, but I've lost all your bank information. How do I send you money? And I'm like, all right. So yeah, man. So they sent us cash, and that money was like just enough to like lead us till the house closed, till our house sold. And it was like a thing. It was just a wild time. So,
Wow.
so yeah, so I want to thank those people. I want to thank the Romanian family. I want to thank Travis and Travis and Jarrett from Dealer Team. They're the ISV that picked me up, gave me a shot, mentored me, told me how dumb my code was, all the things, man. Just they definitely gave me a shot. And then my current company, my bosses, Christian and Jeremy, like just giving me a shot. I was still pretty, years wise, I don't have a ton of experience. I only have I had about a year and a half when we started that whole process, maybe a year and 8 months or something. But under 2 years of experience, and they decided to take a chance on me, and I think we're all having a good time together. So
Awesome.
yeah, man, lots of people.
That's amazing. So a big role, it seems like, in you making through this is you had this support group, right? The community, the church,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
the faith.
Yeah. It was really cool, man, to see people come around us and people who just like, those other broke people too. And like, but it was awesome to have people that cared and around you that like weren't your family, right? Because just like you kind of left your home, all your family, everyone there, like your support system, that you could crash on couches, whatever. You left them. Yeah. You came to America, and I, we left everyone back in LA where we come from. We came up here, and the church just embraced us, man. And some people would, I don't think anyone gave us money, but they just were like, hey, we care. But they would help us. They're like, hey, we found this house listing. Hey, we found this house listing. Like, put your application in. Like, they were like, it's so nice to have people that like cared about us enough to like give up some of their time to help us find places to live and had conversations for us. And you know what I mean? It was amazing.
Cool. Did your faith strengthen during this difficult period, or how did you feel your faith has evolved?
It went like this. So I was high when we left. Yeah. And then when we came here and everything fell, it crashed, man. And I was like, I was mad. Honestly. I was like, what the heck? Like, literally I'm coming up here because I want to do your work. Like why is everything falling apart?
The city burning.
So yeah. Yeah. I'm like, why are we on food stamps? Like, like that. Yeah. And I remember I'm like, he promised never to leave me or to forsake me. Like that, like that's one of Jesus' promises. And I'm like, and so I know that I can't tell you that he put us in those circumstances. Probably it was my own dumb decisions that put us in those circumstances. But what I can tell you is that he was with me the whole time. And it's honestly been like, just to be real with you, like it's been a rebuilding, like just trying to like learn to trust him again. Like I felt like you failed me in this, but I want to trust you again. Like talking about Jesus and God, like I want to trust you again with my life and stuff. So
cool. We're nearing the end of the interview, but I forgot to ask you a good question I had.
Sure.
You were a pastor for 11 years before you decided to change your career. Why did you decide to change your career?
Yeah. So for me, it started with this kind of small, empty thing inside me that was like, I saw this video about Thailand and about trafficking and about the church in Thailand, and it broke my heart. And I was like, there's someone's got to do something about this. Like, why are we just talking about this? Like these are literally little kids that are being like put in the worst situations. Like why is we just having conversations about this? Like someone's got to go. So I probably tried to convince like 4 or 5 people, like, you've got to give up your life and you've got to go to Thailand right now. Like, and so we eventually, after realizing like people weren't as passionate about that video as I was, I realized that there was something happening in here um, with me and my wife, and we're trying to figure out what does this look like, you know. Um, and so that was the seed that started, like, got planted, and it wasn't just human trafficking; it's also for the church in Thailand too,
Mm.
like uh, the global church, or the statewide church. I use that as a broad term, but yeah, man. And so that something got planted inside me that day, and then after that, everything just kind of felt off, sluggish. There was something else that I knew I needed to do. So the reason I changed careers was because I had some web development stuff in the background, and I wanted to become a web developer, or a developer period, because I could work remote. And I knew that if I was going to take my family to a third world country, or maybe a second world country, I'm not really sure what where Thailand fits in that equation. But if I'm going to take my kids to another country, like, I have to have a way that I'm going to support us and take care of us. And so that's where development came in, and that's why I signed up to be a web dev. So
Mm. So you thought you can help resolve this issue being a web developer versus as a pastor?
I needed, I mean, just practically, like, I just needed money, right? And so, like, if we're gonna go, when we go overseas, like, we're just gonna need finances to carry us through, like, just to pay bills, and I mean, all that stuff. And so, also, I want the freedom too of being able to work maybe half a day as a developer, and then use the other half of my day to, like, to serve the
Mm,
community and help
I
people,
see.
and all that kind of stuff.
What's the name of this video, so that we can maybe also show a picture of it as you talk about it?
Yeah,
So
I could show you the video.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll give you a link to it.
send me a link. Yeah, we'll put up a thumbnail of it.
Okay.
So you were a pastor before you became a developer. Were there any
Yeah.
other pastors who became developers and were like inspiring you?
Yeah, I found out I've only met one. I've met one and had a conversation with another of pastors that have became developers. But it's not common, like, a lot of ministers that I know give a lot of their time to serve the people in their church and serve the community. So some of them, don't quite do that. But I do tell people, people that are in ministry. I have lots of friends that are still living in that, like, still doing ministry, and I'm telling them, like, hey, I know, the church can't pay you a ton of money. I know that, and so if you're only getting kind of like a part-time pay for what you're doing, and you're doing a full-time work, like,
Mm,
you can, if you learn some of these skills on the side, like, you can get part-time jobs or contract work where you're able to kind of do these things, which will supplement, some of the things that you have going on. So I do recommend it, man. I tell people all the time, I'm like, a lot of people in ministry are great project managers, because they know how to put volunteers where they need to be. They know how to put resources where they need to be. They know how to save money on resources. They've been doing it for years, right? Like, they like trying to put on amazing things for the smallest amount of money possible, trying to serve the community for the smallest amount of money possible, but still helping people. Like, so I'm telling people, I'm like, get your PMP certification, like, like, you're already project managing. You just need to do it for someone else who will pay you, who will pay you really well. So,
that's an amazing
as a
idea.
part-time gig.
Maybe that's a project you can organize so that you can fundraise for the work in Thailand.
Yeah.
Project management for pastors.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good niche, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
always thinking that way too. Yeah, I saw your course, man. You have a cool like boot camp course going on. That's pretty rad.
Yeah, because I share this knowledge, but then it's like bits and bits and bits, but it's hard to put something together from zero to Salesforce dev. And I'm thinking, if I can organize information, if I can help someone uh, go from non-technical background to some kind of junior developer role,
Hmm.
it would make me really happy. And so
Right.
I've been doing this for about 9 months now.
Yeah.
It's a part-time gig in my free time, and I
Right.
really enjoy it. But it's also tremendous stress for me because I feel so much responsibility for each of my students, and
Right.
and I sometimes think, man, I don't want to. It's too much stress right now, yeah, because I really want each
Yeah.
of them to succeed. And like,
Yeah.
I feel like if they don't succeed, I'm like, I'm giving up on their hope and their time, and so I think I need to find a way to take a step back.
Yeah.
That like I did my best. Now they should also hustle and
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way. We have when we run our community group. We've all been doing remote stuff right now too, but like we have junior devs that are like in my
mm-hmm.
boat. They're like, I need a job now. I just graduated boot camp. I need a job now, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with you, man. I'm like, I'll tell you my story. I'll tell you what I did, how I hustled. I'll tell I can connect you to the people that I'm connected to, but the next step is hustling. And
hustling, yeah. And the
right,
scary thing about hustling is that there's no prescription like golden rule, right?
right,
This is the hustle you do, and this is the result. Yeah, it's very unpredictable, and so it it's but as long as you hustle, you'll hit a gold mine, I think.
right. Yeah, as long as you continue to grow, I think.
All right, final question, Josh. What advice would you give? What three pieces of advice would you give to new developers who want to get their foot in the door as a Salesforce developer? You recently were a non-Salesforce developer. Now you're a Salesforce developer. You have some probably very clear things. You're like, oh man, I wish I did this. Maybe I should have done that. O- And
I
do you have some
Yeah, that's a
advice?
great question. Yeah, I would tell them. I would say to you, if you're a new developer, write the scary emails. Um, Take a chance. Like in order. So there's
Mm,
a quote that I love, and it's in order to get. Um, if you do the same thing that everyone else is doing, you'll get the same results that everyone else is getting, right? So you're following the same prescription as everyone tells you. You're getting your resume, which looks meager, right? It looks lame when you're a junior dev,
of
and you're
course,
getting
right?
that, and you're sent. Yeah, it has to. It has to. You don't have an experience, but like then you look at other people's. If you've ever looked at resumes online, like there's like, oh, I'm a Google architect. Like here's my resume, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I can't compete with that. Um, but so you're doing the exact same thing everyone else is doing. You're putting in your meager resume into this pile, and of course they're going to pass you by. My resume looked way different than everyone else's resume. My resume is in full color. I have my photo on there. I have there's colored boxes everywhere. If I'm going to say to people I love design, then my resume better look like I love design. And
Mm,
and that might be kind of weird. Like I've had people that are career coaches tell me you need to change your resume. It needs to be whatever. I'm like, well, it's worked for me so far. So if I hit a point where it doesn't work for me anymore, then I get it. Then I'll change it. But for now, my resume, like I said, looks very colorful,
non-traditional.
pictures, font, non-traditional. Yeah. I got that from a template online, by the way. On Yeah. Anyways, I don't know. I could give you a link later or something. But yeah, just do a search for Google templates, but for resume templates. So yeah, so I would actually connect with people on LinkedIn, introduce yourselves, explain, hey, I'm a junior dev. I'm looking to do this. I'm looking to break into Salesforce. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to work hard. I'm looking for an internship. I'm looking for a side project to show you that I can do this. You know what I mean? Like connect with someone's human side. I'm now on the other side where I'm interviewing people. I'm interviewing people to join our team. And I'm realizing there's people there that have been in our pipeline that are technically very skilled, but I don't like them and I don't want to work with them. And I'm like, and so realizing that there's a human aspect. It's 50% human, 50% skill. And if you have all skill and no humanity, then I'm like, I don't want to work with you. I want someone who has skill and humanity. And honestly, for me, I lean a little more towards humanity than skill. So show
Mm,
me you're a human being. Show me you're a person. Show me that you can have a laugh at yourself. Show me that that this thing is going to be fun to do together. Like we're going to have a fun time being on a team together. Not that I don't need to know that you're amazing. I don't need to know that you're the best thing that ever happened in Salesforce development. Um, yeah, does that make sense?
yeah, totally, totally. I think I've been studying those success stories from coding boot camps. Like that, I have a list of 10 success stories, and if you wish, I can share it with you. And it seems that the core string among a lot of them is that you got to go out and network, show up at these meetups, uh, talk to people, and through this human connection, you can overcome the technical deficit.
Right.
And hopefully you're a nice guy, and that's why they're willing to give you a
Yeah.
chance. And I
You know what I
think,
was amazed at from a
mhm,
coding bootcamp, and I know we're probably going a little long here, but um, when I would go to coding bootcamp, I showed up to every single event that they had a career coach, and my career
mhm,
coach would put on Zoom meetings, and she would do these presentations, and there would be 2 students there, and I was always one of those 2 students. I'm like, you guys are paying you're paying all this money to come to this boot camp. Why are you not? The point is to get a job. Like, you better
yeah,
get your butt in those meetings. And I was always asking questions. And it was hard. I asked stupid questions. I'm like, questions that I should have known the answer to. And I had to overcome my pride and I had to ask those questions. But you know what? They made me a better developer because I asked those questions. So, like, swallow your pride. You're paying money. You better ask those questions and you better show up to those networking things. And if they tell you to network and join your local meetup, then you better get your calendar out
yeah,
and go to meetup.com and put it in there, man. Like, do what they tell you. You're paying money. Don't
yeah.
ignore their advice. So, sorry, rant over.
No, I 100% agree with you. I share a lot of advice that I feel is essential that helped me get to the point where I am, and that I've seen other people also use and do well with. And I'm surprised when people don't listen to my advice. I'm like, this is what worked, and you wanna be successful. Why don't you do this? And I was probably one of those guys like you. I was showing up for these Trailblazer community events. I
Yep.
was networking with people. I'm like, why aren't more people doing this? This is, I feel dumb, of course, compared to everyone else. Was like very super junior, but
Mm-hmm.
slowly you catch up.
Yeah.
You said the first thing you said when I was asking my last question was write the scary emails. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Write the scary emails means, um, so the way I got my first foot in the door was because I wrote a scary email. Um, and so the scary email might not literally be an email. That's why I said maybe find a company you want to work for
Mm,
and find the hiring manager, find the recruiter on LinkedIn, and you connect with them. When I was looking for a job, I did this. I found out Twitch was hiring, right? And like I said, you heard I like to play video games, so I was like, Twitch, that would be awesome. Now I'm a junior dev, man. I have no business uh, applying for this job, but you know what I did? I found out everyone that was on his team, and I added them all on LinkedIn, and I wrote them all a message. Hey, just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Josh. I saw there's an open position. This seems like an amazing place to work. How do you like it? And you know what? Most of them didn't even friend me back. But I got through to 2 people, and one was the hiring manager, and one was someone on that team. And they chose someone else for the role, obviously. And I was like, hey, if you guys are ever hiring again, like, please let me know. I'd love to put my application in. Like, and those are weird things, right? And that's breaking the rules. But
that's a weird thing.
maybe I'll be working at Twitch in a couple years,
Yeah.
and then we'll see was breaking the rules work for me or has it not? But you know what I mean?
But
So that's what I
they
mean
will
by write the
remember you.
scary email.
Yeah, they will remember you. Like how many people wrote to them like
Right.
cold messaging them, right?
Right. So
Yeah,
that's what I mean by that.
that's awesome. Well done. I know this is the right thing to do, writing these cold emails, messages, but even for me, it's very tough. Sometimes scary. I'm like,
Yeah.
but typically people are much nicer than I think, and maybe I over exaggerate. Uh, cool, Joshua. Thank you so much for your time. I realize we've been talking for almost 100 minutes now, and
Oh man.
but it just
Yeah,
went by.
I appreciate the opportunity, man. And thank you for letting me give back to the community. I know that my story is kind of wild, but
Yeah.
Salesforce has changed my life. Like, development has changed my life, man. And I just want to see people succeed and maybe go down the same path as me. So
Yeah, your story is totally. I've done a bunch of stories, and I thought they were pretty cool, but nothing as wild as yours.
yeah,
This is like Hollywood story. You don't need
yeah,
to
that's wild, man.
exaggerate, add some any kind of things. Already all the drama,
Yeah.
this financial drama, emotional drama is there. It's rich.
Mhm.
Well done, Josh.